Welcome to today's Explainer. We are throwing on our strategic consultant hats right now to conduct a massive deep dive audit of Google's current position in the AI landscape. And we're not relying on rumors or, outside speculation here. We are pulling directly from a recent, incredibly candid interview with Google CEO Sundar Pichai. Let's be real. CEOs of this magnitude almost never speak with such raw, unfiltered transparency about their own company's vulnerabilities. But Pichai did. And that gives us this unprecedented opportunity to break down Google's technical trajectory, their major strategy shifts, and what this all actually means for the future of our economy and the workforce. All right, let's jump right in.
Here is the executive summary of exactly what we're going to cover today. We've got 5 key diagnostic areas. First, assessing Google's AI position. Second, the shift to AI agents. Third, public anxiety and job disruption. Fourth, infrastructure and market competition. And finally, number 5, the horizon of AGI.
Starting right off with Section 1, assessing Google's AI position.
So Pichai is remarkably open about this clear duality in Google's current capabilities. On one hand, they possess immense strengths in text, multimodality, voice, and general reasoning. But when it comes to complex, agentic coding tasks, well, they're currently lagging behind some of their key competitors. This specific type of coding involves models that can follow long horizon instructions, and it's incredibly difficult because it requires the AI to independently plan a project, execute the code, fail, debug its own errors, and then try again, all without constant human handholding. Mastering this iterative, autonomous loop is literally the current holy grail of AI research, and right now, Google is playing catch-up.
Pichai states it pretty plainly, saying, when it comes to agentic coding with tool use, I think we are a bit behind at this moment. Now, from a consulting perspective, acknowledging a deficit like this is actually a massive strategic asset. It shows that Google's leadership isn't just burying their heads in the sand. More importantly, public admissions of vulnerability like this align internal engineering teams to a singular, urgent goal. It sends a super clear message across the whole company. This is the gap, and we have to close it.
And man, they are aggressively hill climbing to do exactly that. Internally at Google, token usage for new models like 3.5 Flash is doubling every single week. Think of tokens as the fundamental fuel, or the raw words and data chunks being processed by the AI. When token usage doubles weekly, it means developers inside the company are rapidly putting these models to work and feeding data back into the system at just an exponential scale. This compounding growth is a terrifyingly fast operational pivot designed to iteratively close their capability gap in record time.
Moving right along to Section 2, the shift to AI agents.
To actually conquer complex coding and workflow automation, Google is heavily pivoting toward autonomous AI agents. These are systems designed to take action on your behalf. Pichai brilliantly compares rolling out these agents to getting comfortable with the self-driving car. Step 1 is just getting people to sit in the back seat. Step 2 involves building trust through transparency and predictable performance. Only then, at Step 3, will users feel comfortable handing over full control. Because let's face it, nobody wants an AI grabbing the steering wheel of their company database at 70 miles per hour on day 1. It absolutely requires a deliberate risk mitigation strategy from Google to earn that trust step by step.
But the potential of these agents, once we do hand over control, is simply staggering. Google's internal agentic system, which is codenamed Anti-Gravity, recently built a simple operating system entirely from scratch in just 12 hours. Let that sink in for a second. We are talking about an autonomous system executing what would traditionally take human developers thousands of hours. The return on investment here isn't just an upgrade, it's a total paradigm shift in software economics. This is exactly why the entire industry is pushing so relentlessly toward agentic coding.
Next up, Section 3, public anxiety and job disruption.
So the crucial point here is that rapid technological leaps inevitably create friction. A recent New York Times poll shows only 16% of people believe AI is mostly good, while 35% say it's mostly bad. As consultants, we view this not just as, biological hesitancy, but as a massive market headwind and a real ethical liability. Humans simply aren't evolved to comfortably process this extreme pace of change. It's entirely natural for society to feel profound economic anxiety and for regulators to really start taking notice when faced with systems that can build operating systems in half a day.
To address the ethical and economic concerns surrounding mass job displacement, Pichai leans on the radiologist analogy. Over the last decade, as digital imaging replaced film, the amount of data in a single medical scan increased tenfold. Radiologists didn't lose their jobs. Rather, the demand for their skills geometrically expanded. When a new tool makes a complex task easier and cheaper, society doesn't do less of it, we demand vastly more of it. So AI won't necessarily destroy professions. Instead, it becomes a mandatory tool just to keep your head above water in a world of exploding diagnostic and computational complexity.
Think about the transition to the spreadsheet era. Before spreadsheets, financial analysis was done entirely by hand. Now, spreadsheets didn't eliminate financial analysts, they completely changed the baseline starting point for what an analyst could achieve in a single afternoon. The AI era is going to do exactly the same thing. It's going to radically elevate the starting point for developers, doctors, and everyday workers. The ultimate takeaway here is that the risk isn't necessarily that AI replaces the worker. The real risk is that a worker efficiently using AI replaces the worker who refuses to adapt.
Which brings us to Section 4, Infrastructure and Market Competition.
Now, none of these advanced agents happen without a bedrock of staggering compute power. And this brings us to Google's dual-pronged infrastructure strategy. On one hand, you have internal operations powering Google DeepMind. On the other, you have their external business, Google Cloud, which actively sells access to highly prized TPU chips to direct rivals like Anthropic. To a layman, this might look like total cannibalization, like why would you arm your own competitors? But in the world of cloud economics, it's a highly calculated move.
Selling to rivals is actually a brilliant business insight and an ultimate economic moat. First off, it drives massive economies of scale, making Google's own operations cheaper. Second, it essentially lets Google's fiercest competitors fund Google's own infrastructure, research, and development. Every time a rival like Anthropic trains a massive model on Google Cloud, they're stress testing Google's hardware to its absolute limits. This ensures that Google's internal engineers are continually pushed to build the absolute best next-generation chips in the world.
Finally, Section 5, the horizon of AGI. This might be the most striking strategic indicator of the entire audit. Pichai openly admits, "I am sure that the technology is making foundational progress towards AGI. I am AGI-pilled." To be AGI-pilled is this heavy internet slang meaning someone is entirely convinced as a fundamental worldview that artificial general intelligence is not only real, but imminent. The fact that the CEO of a trillion-dollar company is on the record using Silicon Valley internet slang to describe his conviction that we are rapidly approaching human-level AI, well, it's highly revealing of the internal culture driving these tech giants right now.
When we map this trajectory out, the momentum is undeniable. Actually, scratch that, it's not just momentum, it's exponential acceleration. Back in 2014, Google began its decade-long pivot building AI-first data centers. Today, we're witnessing the emergence of autonomous agent workflows. And looking ahead, Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis recently projected that by the year 2030, we will reach the foothills of the singularity. The singularity refers to an intelligence explosion that permanently alters the human trajectory, where AI development begins to advance at an uncontrollable, compounding rate. And Hassabis believes we are walking right into the foothills of that event by the end of this decade.
Which leaves us with a final, critical thought to consider. If the leaders of these trillion-dollar companies genuinely believe we are going to reach the foothills of the singularity within this decade, the strategic question is no longer if this massive economic and social disruption happens. The question is, how are you preparing to adapt? It's a profound challenge we all need to start actively navigating today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the data, and we'll see you next time.